Sorry about that. They changed some stuff around here. So, and we're recording. Hey, good evening. So this is September 10th, 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Savings Time. This is our second Zoom here, and I try very hard to go ahead and record the Zooms. I know not everyone can come and attend stuff like that. For those of you that did not do the one last week, were you able to see the recording and stuff like that? Okay, good. Well, welcome here. So I want to accomplish a couple things tonight. First is talk generally about the assignment expectations, rubrics, and stuff like that. And we'll make this real easy, back and forth. If you have specific comments, we'll do that. Then I wanted to talk about, for those of you who just raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you're in your first semester back in school here. You're in the first semester. Some of you do. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about survival skills. Graduate school is different than the BSN. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit more about writing styles and things like that. Just some tools that you can use to help with your writing and stuff like that. This class doesn't have any exams, and probably several of your other classes won't have exams as you move forward. So it's much more writing focused scholarship and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And if we have time, I don't know if I'm going to have time tonight in just the hour, but I wanted to show you EndNote. If you haven't used EndNote, it is just a fabulous tool. And if you have, maybe I can show you a couple little tricks and stuff like that. I think I may, probably what I'm going to do is if we're running only got 10, 15 minutes left in our session tonight, I might just bump it back till next week or something like that. We do just an EndNote session because your paper's not due till the end of September. You just have the short writing example right here. So let me start and first ask, who has questions about the first assignment, the articles? Elizabeth.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify for the articles that we're finding, are they going to be primary sources, or can we use a meta-analysis or a systematic review or one of those types of research?
Great starting question. Before I answer it directly, what's the difference between a research article and everything else? What's the difference between the two?
Well, research has
That's an easy answer.
A purpose, a question that they're trying to answer, and a method of finding the answer to that question.
Yep, and they collected data and they analyzed it and they came up with answers, okay? Now, a meta-analysis is actually a formal analysis, but it's based on literature review, an integrated literature review, and then they did some other focused area. I'm okay if you find an integrative review as an article and call it a research article, because someone spent a lot of time and effort to focus in on a specific question. But this is an informatics class, so make sure that it's focusing on the things that we're going to be talking about in this class, informatics, not a pure clinical article, something like that. So that's some of the boundaries. If you find even a small study, you'll find a lot of things in informatics that are small qualitative studies, like user interface and things like that, usability studies. So those are all fair game. I'm just happy if you can really look and find articles that are relevant to what you're going to write in your second paper, and then tie that together. Have you looked? I saw that at least I think there's been 2 or 3 postings already in the discussion of the format as far as what I look at, and what I saw, I was real happy with it. It's exactly what I'm looking for. Just a short 1 or 2 paragraphs, state the article, post it in APA form. We'll talk about APA in a minute here, and then just maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, just summarizing it and tying it into what you're trying to accomplish with your position paper coming up in a couple of weeks. Okay. If you have any questions at all, as far as, hey, John, is this okay? And I've gotten a few of those already, and that's perfectly fine. Just give me a shout by email, and I'll go take a look at it. Or if you just got specific questions, that's fine. Okay, so that's the first assignment. Any other questions about that?
Yes. So basically, we're doing like an abstract of the articles that we find?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let's talk about APA for just a minute. Some faculty in our program are sticklers about APA. I mean, they just go nuts over about APA, all right? I'm more concerned. My focus is, if you don't get APA exactly right, don't worry about it. The things that I worry about is you made some factual statements in your narrative, but you didn't cite anything. I mean, you were talking about something. It sounded like, oh, wow, where? And usually the question is, where's the reference to that? Where's the citation? So that's more important to me, that you can see that you're trying to make an argument, make a point, but you need to go ahead and cite the literature and put that in the proper APA format, okay? If you have questions about that, let me know. Err on the side of caution. What I mean by that is, if you're not sure whether it needs to be cited or not, go ahead and cite it, because you can't really oversight. Well, you can. I mean, you know, I had almost 200 citations in my dissertation when I finished, but that's a whole other story. The other thing that I look for is to make sure that the citations are appropriate and that they're linked to the references in the back. So you should have in APA, you should have a citation in the narrative. You're writing, citation. Then you should have the reference in the back, okay? Now, there's some debate about whether websites are scholarly or, more important, authoritative references, okay? Some sites are good, some sites are bad. In fact, that might be a question or a topic area you want to address later in the course and stuff like that. As a rule of thumb, a website is not a primary citation. It's not the primary source of that, whatever they're referencing. It's usually either a compilation, especially in some of the good sites like WebMD, some of the other, you know, authoritative, you know, National American Heart Association, places like that have people on staff that actually vet these things and put them on their websites and stuff like that. So those are usually authoritative places. Joe's Bar and Grill, auto mechanics, and oh, I do health science research on the side. Probably not. So just be careful about the things that you see out on the web. I mean, there was some really wild stuff in the spring with all this crazy nonsense about drugs for COVID, stuff like that. Be really careful and be thoughtful about choices as far as where you get references from. What is a peer-reviewed article? What's a peer-reviewed article?
It's an article that's published in a journal that has actual review done by other people who have published and are authorities in that area.
Good. So
yeah,
exactly that. And the other type of article is called, basically it's an editorial reviewed article. So I'll talk about both real quickly. I'm on the editorial board for two journals, Journal of Nursing Administration and Nursing Economics. And one of the things that I do, that's part of my responsibility, is that they'll send me articles within, you know, the areas that I publish in and things like that. And then it's blinded. I don't know who sent the article in. You can always peek in the references. You go, oh, I bet that's so-and-so, you know. You know, or does the authors that submitted the article know who are getting reviewed? So it's a blinded review, and I think that's a healthy way to do that. We usually have a standard format as far as how we actually review articles. I won't get into that tonight. But again, it's a matter of vetting what the authors submitted, what their research was, and then what happens during that review is, if I'm doing the review, I'll go ahead and you know, go point by point and say, well, you know, this looks strong here, but you know, this is pretty weak as far as how, you know, your interpretation, or kind of overgeneralizing. I mean, you know, things like that. Your sample size is way too small. I mean, just a whole range of things that the authors would have to go ahead and address if the article was published. Every once in a while, I'll get an article that I reject outright. In fact, I rejected one a couple of weeks ago. I felt bad about it, but it just wasn't there. The article was just not there. It was basically the authors basically stated their whole entire opinion about stuff. They never gave any factual information, gave very few references. And it's interesting because the editor of a peer review journal like Jonah, they'll go ahead and triage those. They'll go ahead and go through and say, well, no, this doesn't meet our standards for the journal and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to give you a flavor for as far as what happens when a journal, especially in the nursing literature, biomedical, I mean, all the different things that you'll be accessing. These are some of the things that happen behind the scenes. Most of the time, there's at least 2 and sometimes 3 reviewers for the both journals that I review for, and other journals as well. So what happens sometimes And every time I'll get a little email and says, oh, this article is been finally reviewed, editorial reviewed, and here's the outcome of it. And I'll go back and I'll look at the other reviewer or myself and just kind of check myself. We're coming up with the same strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So it's just kind of a quality check. All that's about rigor as far as when you read an article, you know, it's been vetted by people in the field that they know the content, they know the methods, and so forth. Now, one thing I'll point out, and these things are becoming very prevalent, is open access journals. There's not a week that goes by that I don't get some form letter from someplace in Asia. Most of these are coming out of Asia for some reason, some in Europe, that they are basically vanity presses. If you remember the old vanity presses, you can publish anything as long as you paid a couple $1,000 and they'll publish it for you. And that's basically what these open access journals are. The vetting process is based on the ability to get an article in print that they can make money off of. You don't pay money to any of the journals, the legitimate journals. There are some rare circumstances where that might be a case, but for the most part, you should never have to pay for anyone to publish your article. It's part of our professional responsibility. So be careful about the open access journals, all right? I don't have a list. I know that there's a list out there. So as you're beginning to do your search and stuff like that, just be aware that's a problem. It's a growing problem not only within our field, but other fields as well. They just kind of found nursing kind of late about this. So any questions about articles, reviewing things like that?
Malfunction.
Oh, what happened?
Sir, we lost you for about 30 seconds there.
Okay.
Your video just paused.
Oh, my video.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I live on top of a hill. Actually, it's a mountain by East Coast standards. It's 6,500 feet. And I think what happens is I'm on Comcast. It's that the bytes that go in the cable, they just start slowing down and it just kind of peters out. I don't know. That's my theory. I haven't collected any empirical data on it yet, but
You can blame it on the cold.
Yeah, the cold and all the kids doing their gaming tonight because they got nothing better to do, even though that their assignments are due tomorrow or something like that. So it's about bandwidth. That's a legitimate topic for another session about bandwidth, especially in relationship to things like doing distance health, telehealth, telemedicine applications, things like that. So, but we'll pause that and come back. It's a really interesting topic. So any questions about the articles themselves, what you're looking for, how to search for? Are you all familiar as far as how to actually go out and search for articles? What tools are you guys using right now?
I'm using the library.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through their search and filtering results that way.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Let me give you a hot. Yeah, say again, Dale.
PubMed.
PubMed, yeah, PubMed. A few others. One of the places I use quite often is Google Scholar. Not Google Scholar. And I'll tell you a little tip. Let's say you're looking for, you're doing a focus on a particular topic or something like that. So if you can find a couple references, what you can do, especially older, like classic references, go to Google Scholar, find them, and then it tells you everything that's been cited from that article in, say, 2010. And then you can kind of look through. Another way to kind of view Google Scholar is try to find the seminal articles that everyone's citing, and that's what you want in your paper. That's the starting point for something, new breakthrough, new idea, things like that. So those are, some ways to go ahead and look at the literature both back and forth. When you get to, how many of you are in the DMP trajectory? So you do your final DMP project, and that's going to be a big, massive project. You can have a lot of references, stuff like that. So that's, again, another handy tool for you guys that you can go ahead and work with that to go kind of bracket. I call it bracketing literature. You can kind of find different groups and things like that. The other thing is, often, not all the time, but more often than not, you'll find the original PDF of that article. So the nice thing is you find the citation, but if you can actually get the PDF of that article, then it's helpful, either through Google Scholar or through the Health Science Library. I'm going to just briefly talk. I'm going to just briefly talk about EndNote. How many, Dale? You said you were using EndNote. Okay. If I use the term reference manager, don't worry about it. They're interchangeable. That was the one that occurred before EndNote. I'm an old guy. I got gray hair and things like that. So, EndNote, you can do searches within EndNote. I think at this point, I'm probably going to save it for another time because it's worthwhile actually going ahead and actually doing a couple searches like that. But one of the real neat things about EndNote, number one, you save the data, actual references. Number two, it's directly linked to Word. So all you have to do is go in and say you're typing, and this is Weldon's paper, and I'm hating doing this, but I need to put a reference here. You go to reference EndNote and go click, and there it is. The other thing is that it perfectly formats in APA format. And you'll never have to worry about putting a citation in it and it didn't wind up in the reference section, okay? The last thing that's really, really cool is that you can do a search and find all the, let's say you had 10 references and you click them all, click all, and then find PDFs. You can actually find the PDFs, and quite often it'll find the actual PDF and it puts it right into that database. It's like, wow, this is the coolest thing since, I don't know, sliced bread or something like that. Spaghetti and sauce. But that's one of the tools that you want to decrease or minimize your time actually searching for articles and give more time to yourself as far as reading and incorporating them into your work. So again, it's just a productivity tool that's free. You can download it for free and will work real well. One little tip if you're doing the PDF search in EndNote, do all of you guys have the VPN to get into the library? All right, go through the VPN, not just go do the regular search. And for some reason, when you go through the VPN, or actually when I'm in my office on the CU network, you'll find more articles than when I'm home and I'm not on the VPN. So just a little trick of the trade if you're looking for the article themselves. The other thing I did once it's in EndNote, I've got the regular Adobe PDF thing, and I can actually highlight the actual articles themselves. Remember the old highlighter? You used to get these different colored pens and stuff like that, and you just highlight this in it. We call it obsessive compulsive disease. I've worked with some psych nurses in the past. But again, think about these as tools to help improve your productivity as far as writing and things like that. A couple other things about, let's see, APA. Like I said, I'm not going to get nuts about if it's, the comma's missing or something silly like that. Don't worry about that. Make sure that you got a citation in the narrative and a reference. And then if you use an EndNote, it should all be alphabetized and should show correctly. Every once in a while, EndNote will, for some reason, get jammed up as far as the formatting and stuff like that. So you may have to actually go into the database and fix something, but we'll cross that road when we get to it. Any questions on what I've talked about so far?
If you want, you can also install the libkey extension into Google Chrome, and it'll automatically bring up access to the articles in your PubMed search and all that sort of stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Where you can just click on it. Mm-hmm.
What was that download again?
It's libkey. So I think you find it on the library's website.
Okay.
And it's a Google Chrome extension. So you just do the same exact thing. Load in on your VPN. Go to your search engine, or database like PubMed or whatever, and then right below each of your different articles, it'll click right there. It says download article. Really? Yeah, it's
wow,
yeah.
Are you able to? Yeah, are you able to post that link in the group discussion that we have, the Muddy Waters discussion?
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll find it and do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ellen, do you know how to get EndNote free through the university?
The school gives it to you on their library site.
They do.
You gotta go through the VPN to get to it. Okay, make sure you're in the VPN.
Yeah, they also have a class on EndNote, which I highly, highly suggest that you attend.
Okay.
Nicole did it too. I think Hannah did it too. You know, it's a really awesome class. They'll teach you no matter whether you're a Mac or a Windows user or anything. So it's great.
Linux these days, yeah, that's making a resurgence. Yep.
And this might be a dumb question, but what do you mean by VPN? Sorry.
It's called a virtual private network.
Okay.
Think of this as a secret straw that goes from your computer directly into the CU systems. What you're doing is bypassing all the firewalls, and
Right.
you're going. It'd be like you were just actually in one of the classrooms, actually in, in an office, something like that, and plugging it right into the network.
Is there a way when I go into the site to make sure I do it that way? And
There's a what's it called? Address for it. I'll put that in too.
Yeah,
thank
I don't have
you
that.
so much. That's amazing.
Dale, are you able to just share your screen and show them how to do it? He's
Uh,
helped me with a lot of stuff, so.
An army guy, huh?
do you have screen sharing? For us, or-
Let's see. Can I? How do I? Let's see. How do I get it to you? For an informatics guy, I'm pretty dumb on Zoom here. Stand by.
I have the screen share at the bottom of mine. It's a green button. If you
I
push,
need to
It
give
is.
it to Dale. That's
Yep.
the problem.
I think it's active. Hold on. Let me hit it. I'll give it a shot. Here we go. Screen
Because you're not
share.
host.
Oh, here we go.
You got it? Okay.
See you. Yep.
Good.
And then share. So, can you guys see that now?
Uh-huh.
Amazing.
So right here is this is your proxy right here. In fact, you can see all my searches right now for informatics. But that's the address right there, the login.proxy.hls. So that's right there. So you just click the login with university credentials. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So you click this, and it will automatically redirect you.
Okay.
And now, like Dr. Welton said, we're on the actual servers for the what's it called? For the university. And then right here, this is their homepage here.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so in here you click, there's things like resources, all that sort of stuff like that. But down here is classes.
Right.
So you'll see EndNote user training. It looks like they're separating now probably because of COVID and having to actually stream on this one. But if you click EndNote right here, it will link you over, and then it says online. So you just click to download right here. So you'll download EndNote and install it. Now the university's librarians will help you through this process and stuff like that, but only once you've actually taken their course. Yeah, so you'll need to download EndNote, you install it, and then they teach you how to use it. And it's a pretty awesome thing. In fact, here I'll open up my EndNote library right now. And
Hey,
here's
Dale.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm creeping on your bookmarks right now. That UC Denver VPN, that takes you directly to that page that you would get in through the VPN.
Yeah, I put that as a bookmark.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems like a convenient way to do it.
Yeah, so on my site here, I have that bookmarked. In fact, right here, you'll see this is actually the libkey Nomad. So that's the extension that's installed on my Google Chrome. So in fact, let's go back to the home here. And then, where did I find it before? Shoot. Oh, no, not Clinic-key. I think you might actually be able to just search it under resources.
it was right in the center. If you go back to where you were, Dale,
Oh,
it was really big in the center, so you missed it. Scroll down right there.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I feel really dumb now. But yeah, you click that, you tell it which database you're using or which school you're using. It installs the extension right here in Google Chrome. And then, so here's what it looks like in a search. Like in the search right here, you see how it says download PDF? It's right there. So you just click it, it pops open, and it automatically goes right over to the site, and then you got it, bam. Yeah, I guess I'll let you do EndNote later on. Sorry, Dr. Welton.
No problem. Thanks for doing this. And this is a huge time saver for you guys as far as
Yeah.
being able to
Sure.
get and stuff like that. So
Thank
Okay,
you. I
so-
feel like you just saved my life.
No,
Hours of research,
stop
yeah.
share.
Right.
All right. Any other things you wanted to see real quick before I hit stop share?
I don't think so.
All right, but yeah, those things in and of themselves are just absolutely awesome. I highly recommend, if you've never done it before, make an appointment with a librarian at the library, because they're just insanely awesome. I don't know if you saw.
yeah, I get bumped up from those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw, like, on my PubMed, they teach you like how to truly organize a search. They teach you how to use mesh database terms.
Yeah, I did need to go. I actually had an appointment, and I was like doing the whole Pico thing from like
Yes.
however many years ago. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Go back and refresh with them. It's
Right.
like Nicole and Hannah can tell you, it's you think you knew how to search until you leave
Right.
from the meeting, and you're just like, oh,
Right. And then you go to do it and you're like, what just happened? Yeah.
yes, yeah.
You guys are getting smarter by the minute here. Great, thanks, Dale. This has been very helpful. Anybody have any questions up to this point? I'm going to talk a little bit about just writing and style and things like that, but it's just, God, half an hour, we've gone through a lot of stuff here already. So I just want to make sure you guys are up to speed here. Anything else?
I have a quick question about the position statement.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Danielle, were you about to ask a question?
No,
Did I?
no,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay. So for the position statement, I was reading the prompt again while we were talking, and I saw that it says like in response to CNO director, something like that. So when we're formatting this, are we formatting it in as like a letter, or are we, to a question that they've asked, or are we formatting it just as our, I think this will benefit us, or not I think, but you know what I mean? Like this will benefit us. This is how it will improve outcomes, things like that.
I'm pretty open-minded about this, and if you want to be innovative, if you want to go outside the box a little bit, just let me know, and I'll say, yeah, that's fine. You can do it as a report. You give me a report back to you, nurse manager, your CNO, those kinds of things. The other thing is, and I say this every single class, I think, but I respect all of your opinion, but opinion alone has very little merit in making a good argument. What I mean by that is, yeah, again, I respect your opinions, but what is the factual basis for the arguments that you're going to make, as opposed to, yeah, I think this, I think. So whenever I see a paper, I think this, or I believe this, I start cringing a little bit, and I get my little highlighter out. So I want you to be, I really want you to be on the ball with this. What I mean by that is, take a position, but then make sure you got the factual basis to support your position. Or better, take a counter position and then go back and forth, make arguments on either side. Sometimes I've seen papers that have been really good in that they'll take a position, I can't remember what they were off the top of my head, but they'll look at something and go back and forth, and then they'll draw some conclusions that, well, we feel, based on the literature, that implementing a telehealth application in our clinic would be helpful and could reach other patients that we haven't been able to in this COVID environment. But here are the different problems, issues, concerns that we have for this. It costs too much money. We don't have the bandwidth to do this. We're dealing with a rural population that doesn't have internet sometimes. So again, go back and forth, and don't be afraid to take a position. But then, like I said, take the opposite side and then start banging against your position and looking at the data. Another thing that may happen is you may find either very little literature about the issue or problem, the position you're taking. In that case, there's not a whole lot you can do other than, I really want you to avoid speculating, but you can say, well, here's a gap in our understanding, a gap in the literature supporting this, okay? Another thing that may happen is that you get conflicting studies. Some studies say is yes, they support this. Others say, well, no, it's been inconclusive or negative findings. So if you do see that, probably the best way to handle it is write what's called an evidence table. Just write the 3 or 4 or 5, whatever articles, and then just write a little, it's kind of like a PICO table or PCOT table, but you're actually trying to compare and contrast the different studies. It can drive you nuts sometimes because you kind of go, well, how could I make a decision based on this? I said, well, you can't, because there's not enough known about this phenomenon or things like that. And that, but again, that's a good thing from a researcher standpoint, because you begin to say, hey, here's some opportunities. We can go ahead and do some studies or follow, research and things like that. So, so let's talk about writing styles. Yeah, we're doing pretty good in time. Let's talk about writing styles. This afternoon, I went ahead and posted in the first module, that first module with the catch-all for all things, a little essay I wrote about how to write a good paper. So your homework tonight, not tonight, whenever, the next couple of days, is to go ahead and read that. That's kind of a summary of all my pet peeves. Now, one of the things that I'll say is, you guys are here because you're intelligent and that you're gonna excel and you're gonna do well in this program. My job is kind of like a Sherpa right now to kind of get you to the end of this line. But I want you to start thinking a little bit differently about how you write. Okay. Again, I already mentioned one issue, but really don't want to see opinion. I really want you to think deeply and use the literature to help support your arguments, stuff like that. The other thing I want you to be careful about is how you write. And there are certain things that I've seen made over. I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've been in academia for 20, so I've earned the gray. But the problem that I've seen time and time again is nurses write in this very passive voice, and it's part of. I mean, I've actually there's some scholars that looked at that, and they think it's just because nurses have been oppressed over the years and put in a subservient position to physicians. Now, again, that's not my opinion. That's what the literature says, and I have to go back and relook at that literature again. So what I want to do is, if I do mark up your paper and I say there's a lot of passive voice, I want you to think about how you could go ahead and change that around. Now, one of the key indicators when you write that is passive voice is it starts out something like, it was determined that. So when you do your draft, I want you to go ahead and do a word search on the word that. If you start seeing that word pop up, it's a pretty good clue that you're probably writing in a passive voice. Let me give an example. I gave my undergrad research class. It was determined, let me think this through. It was determined that the students felt that the research course helped prepare them for evidence-based practice after they graduated. How could you say that in a lot less words? Well, get rid of the first part. It was determined that. How would you change that around?
Could just say the students were prepared for evidence-based practice after taking the course.
There you go.
Yeah. You
just saved 1,000 words, not 1,000. You just saved probably 20 words. Not that we're trying to kill trees anymore, but again, think about that. Be more concise. The other thing that drives me nuts, and again, this is a generalization of my lived experience, so this is actually a valid point here. But one of the things that drives me nuts over the years is, again, in this whole idea that nurses write in a very passive way. The other thing I've seen time and time again is they save their best stuff to the end of the paper. That we have to go through this 3 or 4 or 5 pages, and then it's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So my best advice to you is put your very best stuff right up front. So hook the reader in, and then make a good argument, make a point right up front, then tell your reader how you got there. Okay, so put your best points, your summary points right up front, and then use the narrative to go deeper as far as how you got there. Any questions on that? Yeah, Dale.
If you want, I can show the students how to enable their word processor, the Microsoft Word, to check for passive voice and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. You guys want to look at that real quick?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
because I might take points off of that for your assignment. So this might be a good, yeah, go ahead, Dale. Go
All
ahead,
right.
light it off.
All right, so Microsoft Word. So in Word, all you have to do is come over here to File. So you hit File, you go down to Options. It's going to pop up like this. You're going to come down to Proofing. From Proofing, you want to go down to here, writing style. So you're going to have it actually check grammar and refinements, and then you'll hit Settings, and you're going to come on down here. If you come down, you're going to check for clarity. And if you check this right here where it says passive voice with unknown actor and all that sort of stuff like that, wordiness, nominalizations, all those sort of things, it'll actually flag those items in your writing. And so it'll give you suggestions, or it'll tell you that you're in passive voice. So, and then, if you hit recheck document, it'll go back and it'll check it over. This is actually me starting it. And this is an example of using EndNote, actually, because all you have to do is just click, insert the bibliography.
You already got your references set up here. That's another real good point. One of the things that I like to recommend is you go ahead and outline your paper first. So that was another point. Yeah, thanks, Dale. That's a really good tip as far as looking at grammar and style and things like that.
Yeah.
Some of the other common things I've seen is a whole page is just there's one paragraph for a whole page. So break it up into chunks. Use subheadings as a way to kind of chunk ideas, in a logical manner and stuff like that. Also, EndNote has an APA formatted Word document that you can just go ahead and download. So it's got it already set up for, you know how Word, APA kind of puts the headings in the center and stuff like that, that they can get you all set up. You don't have to worry about that at all. There are some other tricks in Word. We don't have time to talk about them, but as far as formatting and stuff like that, that can make your life a lot easier. So just think about that as you begin. Especially for those of you that are beginning your career, you're going to be doing a lot of writing over the next couple of years. So Microsoft Word is your friend, and it's just a good tool and a good way to know. Another thing is, if you're doing tables and stuff like that, how many of you use Microsoft Excel? The spreadsheet, okay, a little bit. It's a great way to go ahead and it's easier to do tables in Excel and then just copy and paste them into Word sometimes. So just another way to kind of think about, adding to your paper and things like that. What are the things about writing styles? Let's talk about clarity. We talked about putting your best points right up front, but how do you make them clear throughout the document? So if you're trying to make a point 1, point 2, all right, here's your summary. You're actually going through, here's point 1, all the different things associated with it, point 2, all things associated with that. Then you're going to do some kind of interpretation. Then you're going to draw some kind of conclusion. You only got, 2 to 3 pages to do this. So for the position statements. So just think about that. So this is probably going to be the harder assignment because you've got so little space in order to make your points on the paper. So I'm going to look for that as far as, again, if I mark up your paper a lot, that's because I really want to help you, not I'm trying to cut you down or anything like that. But as you begin to think through and organize your work, again, use the outline tool. Take those references, just like Dale had. He already had his references there. Just write a sentence about the reference, so you could put that in where you're going to outline, and then you do your narrative last. How many of you actually write a paper from the very first page and just work serially all the way through? How many of you do that? Okay, I'm going to recommend don't do that. It's hard because it's kind of like taking a journey without a roadmap. How many of you ever gone on like a nice long journey, but you're not quite sure, you want to get there, but you're not quite sure how to get there. And if you write that way, you're probably going to get frustrated. You're going to have blank moments and you're going to be staring at a screen and kind of going, I don't know what to write. But if you have it outlined, in fact, I recommend starting at the end, write your conclusion, or at least just a brief outline of what your conclusion is going to be. Do that first. And that's kind of like, oh, all right, now I know where I'm going to go, because you've already read the literature, you understand what you can write about. Then go back and say, all right, here's the journey. Here's where we start, and here's where we end. One of the best things I did when I finished my PhD, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill grad, I went up to University of Maryland, and I took a creative writing class, a novel writing class. And it helped me so much as far as just style and telling a story, as opposed to just writing technical stuff. So again, one of the things I'll encourage you to do is tell the story. What's the interesting things? How many of you ever read a really good book? When they open Barnes & Noble again, it's always fun just to kind of go through there, grab your, your cappuccino, whatever it is, latte, and then kind of look at some of the books. Read just pick up a John Grisham book, just out of curiosity. Read the first page. If you're not sucked into that book by the end of the first page, you really can't see the page, or you've got too much caffeine, I guess. But again, think about creating that hook. You really want to entice your reader to really get involved, to really understand and get them excited about what you're talking about. So think about different ways that you can do that right up front, right in your first paragraph or two. Make it exciting. And say, oh, I really want to read this page. This sounds interesting. Okay. What are some of the other, those are the broad things. Just trying to think if there's anything else as far as writing styles. That's pretty much it. In the second assignment, the position paper, you've got an option of using an appendix. Choose that wisely. You can put a table, a graphic, or something like that in that second assignment. Sometimes a table is easier to read than a whole narrative, especially it involves numbers and things like that. Have you ever read a research article and they just talk about, for a paragraph or two about all the different things? It's like, oh God, just give me a table, then I can see it. It's easier to see when you have it that way. Now, how many of you are visual learners? You got to see it. You got to see it. Okay. So again, if you have someone that's reading your paper that's a visual learner, graphics, tables, things like that are all good things. How many of you got to hear it a couple times before it sinks in? Okay. Put your headphones on it and do the audio books or something like that. Or put some good music on while you're reading, something like that. I guess that'll help too. How many of you got to touch it? You got to feel it. Again, there's no pure ones. People kind of go back and forth. And but part of the learning styles is that transfers over to writing styles and how you actually engage the reader to have different styles of understanding and knowing. So just think about that as you're beginning to move forward, not only in this class, but other classes as you move forward. Doing pretty good on time. Who's got any questions, comments, concerns?
John, we're held to just 2 articles, right, for the position statement?
No, if you have additional articles, that's fine.
Okay.
Now, I would not go crazy. I wouldn't get 30,
Right.
40. You're not going to get any extra points for it. But if there are 3 or 4 articles that really help illuminate a problem, an issue, something you're taking a position on, that's certainly fine.
Okay.
And you can do that.
But just for the initial article review, it's just 2.
Yeah, that's the requirement. As far as the rubric is concerned, look at the rubric before you submit. Or in fact, look at the rubric before you actually sit down and start working on each assignment. I use the rubric pretty closely when I do the grading. And if you have any questions about the rubric, most of the rubrics are pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a little bit of interpretation, but I'm pretty open-minded. As long as you're submitting what was required in the instructions and you're following the rubric, you're going to do well.
Okay.
The times that I found that students have not done well from a grading standpoint or just an understanding point is they just didn't follow the instructions. They gave me something that, well, this is interesting, it's great, but it's not what I was expecting to see for the assignment, and it doesn't fit the rubric. There's always one or two a year that decides to write the novel War and Peace and submit it to me, and I said, that's great, but it's at 6 pages, and now I'm down to page 13 and 14, and I'm getting grumpy. So that's probably one of my final tips here. Make it easy for the person that's grading. Follow the instructions. Don't submit something that's 4-point font so you can squeeze everything in, you know, little things like that. Make sure the margins, make sure that the actual document itself is formatted well. And just do a visual check as far as what it looks like. If you got a friend, a spouse, a significant other, and if you're really worried about it, just have them look at it and just say, hey, does this make sense to you? And if they say, I don't know, I can't make any sense out of it, you probably want to think about, you know, redoing it or addressing some of the things that's not making it clear, something like that. Danielle, I think you had your hand up.
I did.
Yeah,
So I did. So quick question. I don't know if anyone else has had this issue, but when I go under the module for module 1 to take a look at the research article rubric, it says that the file is currently locked. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, because I was trying to look it up and couldn't find it.
I looked at it the other day. When you're having problems, when there's one student or two students that are having problems and everyone else can get in, that's usually a cache thing. Just go ahead and just you know, dump your cache and try to get back in again. The other thing is sometimes different browsers will come up differently. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I'm actually I've been using Firefox. I'm going back to Chrome now, and I'm trying to standardize on Google for some reason. I think I'm just tired of Microsoft. Those different issues sometimes crop up. This is actually a very dense, complex course. Diane Skiba, anyone know Diane Skiba? She's internationally known for work in healthcare informatics education. She designed this course over, I think, about 10, 12 years. And every time I go in there, I find new things and say, oh, look, I didn't even know this was here. So it's a very rich, dense course. The good news is you don't have to buy a textbook.
Yeah.
And you can thank Diane for that. But again, you have to go through the modules. But everything in this class I think is interesting. I've lived some of this stuff. So it's kind of very true to our history from a nursing standpoint, nursing informatics standpoint. And you get some good introductions as far as some of the main concepts, some of the issues, the problems, some of the emerging work that's being done. So we'll talk more about that as the semester goes down here. I hope you guys are interested in getting energized about this, because it is so important, and it's fascinating, some of the things when you start looking under the hood. It's not just a bunch of computers or people talking about computers. There's a whole much more, and it affects everything we do from a nursing and healthcare standpoint. Any parting questions? You can finish early if you want. I've been Zooming since 8 o'clock this morning. It's like,
all right, well, I'm going to disappoint you because I have a question.
No, how many people have Zoomitis? I mean, you know, it's an inflammation of the brain related to too much. In fact, I had two big long calls today with the dean, so it's like I can't even kind of, you know, sneak off and do things. So I had to pay attention, stuff like that. But if you have any other questions, just let me know. I'm around this weekend. I'm probably gonna go take a nice long hike tomorrow, but I'll be around. Usually on the weekend, sometimes give me 24 hours on the weekend. During the day, you know, during the weekday, I'm just, like I said, I'm engaged and stuff like that. If you really need to get a hold of me, text me and just say, hey, can you look at my email? It's pretty bad. You got to text someone to say, can you look at my email? But I've got my email on my iPhone, so I can look. The problem with the iPhone is I can't thumb type very well. So typically what I'll do is I got to get this when I get back. So just give me a little bit of time. But if you really need to talk to me, stuff like that, you know, feel free to do that. Not that I'm traveling or going anyplace. I think we're all hunkered down, and for at least the time being, till things get a little bit better.
John, real quick, for the last couple minutes, could we just do like a little content discussion about the unfulfilled promises of HIT and like how we can conceptualize that and discuss it, you know, kind of moving forward?
Yeah. Do you want to just kind of work through a couple ideas?
I guess, yeah, I'm kind of, you know, reading through the papers today. You know, there's some of the papers that I think have these biases in favor of using HIT and kind of these idealistic views of it, and you know, a couple that have the opposite view where they talk about the downsides of it. But kind of taking that all into consideration, how do we approach the idea of the unfulfilled promises when we're talking about some type of specific technology?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you take a very broad view, it's really hard to do in a couple pages. So I usually recommend picking something like the issue of using telehealth applications in rural clinics, or looking at implementing electronic health records in a specific, specific setting or things like that. So you can start broad, but then kind of narrow it down and use, one of the things you can do is do a case study. So if you had an interaction, something in your past, maybe electronic health record implementation didn't go well, and these are all the things that actually affected patient care, something like that. I think that would make an interesting approach to it. Be careful not make it about, oh, this is what happened to me, this is what I think. So you want to take the third person view, that there was a situation, you're talking about implementing new electronic health record systems, and this didn't go well, but you've already painted the picture, so you're going to use that as an exemplar or a case study. So that's a good way of handling this paper. I'm trying to think, anything you guys from a military standpoint that may be unique or different, maybe like battlefield informatics? I mean, I've seen some really interesting stuff. It's just, it's hard to keep up with.
Oh, the stuff that we're using is archaic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible.
One of the horrible attempts to put hit onto the battlefield was, remember when they were doing those dumb microchips? They were gonna, every soldier was gonna carry a microchip on their health record, and you can just scan it into their dumb Palm Pilot things. It was way ahead of it. Yeah. So it was way ahead of the time. Yeah. And then there's actually a lot of good information on like telehealth in combat and stuff like that. And then you got a lot of the things that happen there where there's like bandwidth issues, or the positives that do happen. I mean, there's plenty of positives where you get on a different type of communication tool, and then the physicians are able to talk to each other. They're able to actually stabilize patients in pretty heroic circumstances.
John, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I was a flight nurse from 2011 to 2013, and we had a contract with the Department of Defense where we were using Apple iPads and algorithms like in flight for our pediatric patients with Children's Hospital Oakland. And we'd go into the bedside and we'd have to FaceTime with the pediatric intensivist, but sometimes the kid was so sick, so you're trying to FaceTime, but you also need to intubate the child, or the Wi-Fi wasn't working because we were frequently in really rural areas of California. But it definitely has its use, because they
were an interesting case study for your paper.
Right. Oh, okay.
Just full disclosure, I'm a former flight nurse myself, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I'm a flight nurse also, and Dale was too.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was actually going to talk about the Air Force records system that we have on the plane, because they're requiring us to use this tiny little thing. So we actually have Altus. So military, you guys know that.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It's a really bad charting system for outpatient, but we have to, every time a patient comes on the plane,
okay,
yeah, every time they come up on the plane, we get a disc, and we have to put it in, and we have to load the patients, and then we have to type in all their information anyway, even though we have a disc, because it doesn't actually pop up like it's supposed to. And then at the end of the flight, we're supposed to put it back on the disc and then try to download it. And we have this little brick that as soon as we land, it's called MiFi, and we have to try to connect to the internet. And it's like, well, we're in Afghanistan, out in the mountains somewhere. We're landing in Germany, and it just doesn't work. And it's a silly system. So then we ended up just printing the chart anyway and giving it to them.
Mhm.
See, that's called workarounds. That would be an interesting paper to do about workarounds for IT. And
Right.
that's the failed promise.
We have a lot of those in the military.
Oh yeah.
Like I said,
yeah.
it's an interesting aspect. It's a problem. It's an issue in that the technology has a certain, certain expectations, but they don't work. So you have to do workarounds, which makes the nurses work much harder. It affects patient care, outcomes of care, things like that. So all
Mhm.
that's fair game. And a
Yeah.
flight nurse paper would really get me excited.
I only lasted 3 years, and then I was I was done.
That's 7 years. Actually, I started my own air ambulance company. I started in helicopters in Texas.
Wow.
My flight team. And then I went up to Charlotte, North Carolina, because they stuck me in Beaumont, Texas. That's where they make gasoline. And I said, no, I'm out of here. And I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I transitioned to fixed wing. And it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I actually, did my master's paper on starting an air ambulance company. I was actually working for this, it was a religious charity group. They were just taking their own private planes and flying kids and stuff like that to Shriners. And I thought, well, hey, they were turning away paying customers. So I did the pro forma and actually started the company after I finished my master's degree. So it was kind of interesting, but it got old after a while. So
Right.
you get married and you have,
You have kids, and you don't want to die in a helicopter. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah.
I'm sure we could have maybe a beer or two or a glass of wine and tell all sorts of crazy horror stories. And
Yep.
but anyway,
Actually, how long were you in Charlotte, North Carolina? Just out of curiosity. I'm from Charlotte.
I was there. Let's see. I was there from 84 to 91. And I went to UNCC Charlotte. That's where I got
So
my
did that's where I graduated from.
Oh yeah. And then I went in 91, I went up to Chapel Hill. And got my PhD up there, yeah.
Yeah, I graduated in 87 and I worked in the trauma ICU at Carolinas Medical Center.
I worked in the ER there for a little while.
Yeah, I was there from 87 to 88 when I got married, and then I moved up to New York. So.
Oh, I came from New York, so we probably waved to each other on 95. Oh, gosh, we're getting goofy here tonight. But Elizabeth, we got off the beaten track here. Do we kind of help you with your question?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it gave me a little bit of inspiration kind of based on what I was reading earlier today too, to look into.
So the two articles are due this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got 2 weeks for the next paper, right? So probably what I'm probably going to wind up doing another session next week, either Wednesday or Thursday. And I think it seems like Thursday this time works pretty well for everyone. I may keep that, but I've got a lot of flexibility, so we'll see how that goes. But we can talk a little bit more about if you have specific questions and things like that. Let's go ahead and think about next Thursday. We'll do it at the EndNote thing. Dale, do you want to help us with the EndNote thing next week?
Sure. Yeah, if you'd like, sir.
Okay, I can use you as the guinea pig. We do a quick show and tell, and let's see if we can actually blow it up. The hardest part is actually the little bits go between EndNote and Word, and if they're all happy, life is good. One last thing I'll say is if you're using any kind of technology, always save. Do a backup. I can't tell you how many times I spent hours and hours on the paper, and all of a sudden I crashed the disk, something happened. I couldn't get a Wi-Fi connection, I couldn't upload it. So always think about saving your work in multiple places, backup places. I'm getting excited about Google Drive for now because I was on Dropbox for a while. So there are different places, but even Dropbox, I've had problems where I was at work, I'd upload my stuff to Dropbox, I get home, and it's like, I can't get to it, it's not working or something like that. Zoom, I'm surprised I only had one little blip here today. I had a class last spring, it was five times and then crashed on me during a 1-hour class. It's like, but again, I think that's the downside of technology. It's something that, we can't live with it, we can't live without it. And think about some of the issues just from your own productivity standpoint. Make sure that you don't spend a whole lot of time and all of a sudden you go, yikes, I can't get in, I can't get the file, things like that. The other thing I recommend is never, ever, ever update, upgrade, get a new computer during the semester. Do it before or after. I can't tell you how many times I had a computer where it was just, oh no, it's not working, something's crashing, whatever. You all know about Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can happen will. And that's not grammatically correct, but that's what will happen. Murphy will bite you and you know where. And so that's about all I really want to talk about tonight. Yeah, we did good. We're right within the hour. Any other concerns, comments, criticisms? Is this helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Danielle, you had a question?
So I cleared out my cache and I also tried it on Internet Explorer and it's still popping up as file cannot be displayed. Is there?
Blurred. So you can't see the rubric from your side.
Correct. I can see the one for the paper, but I can't see the one for the articles.
All right, let me see if I can just cut and paste that and put it in that first module section. I think there's let me, give me a couple of minutes. I need to go ahead and dig. And it takes almost an hour to render this thing so I can get it uploaded. So I can do that while I'm doing that. So, but I'll have this, yeah, I'll take a look at that.
Or if you want to just email, if everyone else is able to get to it, like I don't mind just
I
getting
haven't
an
been
email from
able
it.
to.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No, I just checked and I can't get it either.
Okay. You can read the instructions, is that correct? There's some
Mhm.
red in that you can read. Okay, all right, that's fine. I'll take a look and see what I can do and fix that.
Thank you.
The only other thing is there was a couple, I can't remember the links off the top of my head. They were about the value-based IT, that HIMSS, there was like 1 or 2 links that were dead and we
Yes, yeah.
HIMSS actually decommissioned that and it's not even available anymore. So I'm trying to find some time. I can actually just go in there and just delete that link. So don't worry about I think it was 1 or 2 links. Don't worry about them. We'll put some other stuff up a little bit later. This is a standardized course, so I have to be careful. I can't do my own thing because there's 2 or 3, there's I think 3, actually there's 4 sections of this class this semester. So we try to be real careful that we're all talking, we're actually changing things together and not doing separate things. So you guys are getting the same thing that all the other 3 sections are getting. So good session tonight. Should have made it happy hour, but that's all right. It's Thursday. Maybe we'll have to do a Friday happy hour one of these days. So great seeing you guys here. If you have any questions, again, just let me know. And we'll see you next week. I'll probably set up for Wednesday or Thursday. Good deal. Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.